afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Thank God it's Friday.
Yes.
Yes,
True.
thank God it's Friday. And you know when I say thank God it's Friday, you know what that means, right?
I know. I think they might not know, but I know.
You know.
I know.
Well, let me tell them.
Go ahead.
It's another edition of the CareSouth Carolina Community Live Podcast. That's what it is. And after a short hiatus, we are back.
We're back.
We're back. Yes. And not only we're back, we're back in a special way today because we got a special guest in the building with us today. All right. We got our cousin Mark. Got cousin Mark in the building with us today.
Hey, cousin Mark.
Hey guys, how's everybody?
Good.
Absolutely. So we got Mark Sobiski in the building with us today. Mark is the director of the CareFirst Foundation. CareFirst is a supporting foundation of CareSouth Carolina, but I'm not going to tell you about it. I'm going to let you introduce himself and let him tell you about it. Because after all, that's why we got him here.
Oh, bless your heart, Merrick. You, Daniel, you're doing a great job with this podcast. Thanks so much for inviting me. I appreciate it. The long and the short of it is, about 18 years ago, they hired me on to try to start a foundation. And what they ended up saying was they wanted to do something that would support the patients and the communities that CareSouth served. And that's where CareFirst came in. They debated the CareSouth Foundation, but they had some issues with that. So they came up with CareFirst because CareSouth was where care always came first. So that was the little tagline for it, and that's why we have a little bit different name. But we have a separate 501c3 designation, and we also have a separate board of directors. Two of the CareSouth board sit on my board, and I've got 7 other members that are from the community. So it's quasi-independent, truthfully. I mean, our mission is to support the needs of CareSouth. They bring them to us and say, like recently, they came to us and said they needed another dental van because they couldn't get into the schools. So now our project is going to be raising money to pay for the new dental van coming in. It's going to be like the one we've got now, but it'll allow them to give dental services outside the schools in a van rather than having to do the portable equipment in and out. As they get more schools, they're finding that they can't get in with the portable equipment. So CareFirst is there to do capital campaigns. We do emergency medications for patients to CareSouth. We'll assist with diagnosis. If one of our physicians comes to us and they have a patient that has a critical need for a CT or an MRI, the doctor can come to us and say, can you help us with this particular patient? And once they give us a letter and we have a little process we go through, we try our best to make that happen. It's been one of those things we've been kind of like that little extra bit to try to help you get over the hump. So a lot of patients come in and they're in a bad way, and some of them need a little extra love, and we want to try to figure out ways to do that. And it takes money, and that's where we get our money comes from. Individuals, our employee campaign, our employees make donations to us. We have events like our golf tournament and we do a clay shoot, that sort of thing. And then we have United Ways give us donations, as well as other regional and local and regional foundations try to support what we're trying to do. So we try to kind of have a pretty mixed bag of services, as well as we've partnered with COVID to do a lot of food distribution over the last year. That was that PPE and the food were our big. They kept me running. I'll just put it that way, for sure.
I know that's right. I saw you were all over the place at one point.
I'll tell you, 5 counties are big.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so let's talk
And
about that a little
yeah.
bit because when that hit, you went into straight work mode. I could say that, just working with you on that and talking with you on that, you went in straight work mode, and you really covered the like you said, the 5 counties, the landscape of the 5 counties. Could you talk a little bit about what went into that process? Who some of the partners you work with, and ultimately, why did you take on? Why did you decide to take on that task?
Well, good question. When you look at what we do, everything pretty much shut down back last June. I mean, if you wanted to try to help somebody with a patient, like if they needed to go in for a specialty care or something like that, every specialist was shut down. All the hospitals were shut down. So if it wasn't primary care, it was pretty much just sitting. And I looked at it and said, with as much COVID that's going to be out there, we needed to have a COVID relief fund. So we ended up soliciting money for that. Because one thing that I'm a one-man shop. I got me and I've got a part-time assistant. But I mean, realistically, it's just one person out there trying to help. Well, I've got the resources at CareSouth that are behind me, which is awesome because Marek and his team and Daniel and his team, as well as our maintenance staff, and we have tremendous numbers of vehicles like the box trucks that we use for the dental teams. All those are not being used because they shut the schools down. So I'm like, well, why? We looked at it and said, now's a good time to build infrastructure for what we need. And so we were able to get grants through the SC1 Foundation, Harbor Freight. We got we purchased one of the Moby units, Moby number 5, with money from them. It's a water company, but it's Watermark, Xylem Watermark, and Chesterfield Water Department helped us get a $25,000 grant to help with the Moby. So we were able to cobble together a lot of resources. We even put a freezer up there for the Vantage Point in our Society Hill site. We got money from Duke Energy, the local United Ways in Hartsville. We actually put money in from one of our events, and that was about a $19,000 investment. But we now have a cooler freezer. We can put food that we can distribute in the communities. We did it specifically for the aged, the 60 and over, but it can be used for anything if we have to. And we partner with a lot of the Collecton group over in Wallace, and we town of Clio, town of McCall, down there in Riverdale, the church in Riverdale over in Dillon County. I was in Sellers last week. So we tried to look for ways to use the resources that we've got to be effective to serve the communities that we have. And our communities are CareSouth's communities. It's really what we're trying to do is augment the work that CareSouth does, and just kind of add a little bit of value, and target. A lot of times people want to make a donation, they want to make it for a specific thing. We can make sure that happens. That makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. And, I appreciate everything that you do because, you spoke with Marek. Watch out, throw this plug in there. You spoke with the pastor of my church, who's an awesome guy. I know him personally. I talk to him about every day. And you kind of really, you gave him some resources to help with the same type of services that CareSouth offer, which is community outreach, to help those that are in need, especially the elderly, and those who are in situations where they can't get to the resources that they need. And I know for a fact that my pastor of that church, my church, Community Worship Center, really, really appreciates just the amount of care that you showed towards them in their efforts to help with, feeding the hungry, feeding the homeless, making sure that everybody get knowledge about transportation and transportation services, and then more so about where to find good healthcare homes. And, especially right here where we live, some people still, after all these years, still don't realize that CareSouth has all these services right around the corner from them, and giving them an avenue and giving them resources and an opportunity to talk about it and find out where everything is. And even when the providers here, even for instance, one of the members of our church had an issue with no insurance, and she needed a very, very important medical exam done and couldn't find resources nowhere else. And when the provider went to the proper channels and proper resources and used the proper procedure to get that met, CareFirst was right there on the spot. And she was able to get that done. And now she has a diagnosis for a condition. And now she has less anxiety, no depression, and she's on medication, and she's being treated for that issue. And after all these years, and it would have never happened had not been for CareFirst Foundation. So, I mean,
that's awesome.
Personal. Yeah, it's personal for me. So, yeah.
One of the things I've found. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mark. Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I tell one of the things that I've found that has been personally rewarding to me is the fact that we can make a difference one day at a time. I know I've been here for 18 years, and I can truthfully say that even if I'm off, my phone rings because there's somebody that doesn't know I'm on vacation, so my phone's going to ring, and I'll do everything I can to make whatever they need happen. And so, to me, I can say we help somebody every day that God sends in some way or another, and that's very fulfilling for me. And as an organization, I mean, that's what we were built for, is to do stuff like this. And it's exciting to know that we've helped your client that much. I've had anywhere from minor surgeries all the way up to we've done a lot of different things with oral surgeries, that sort of thing, for impacted teeth. Sometimes our dentists can't handle it, and so we have to send them out. And once our dental director looks at them and says, nope, it's not something we can do, then we look for resources to try to figure out a way to make that happen. So we've been fortunate. The good work seems to bring the funding that we need to make continue.
I knew early on when I first met Mark, I used to pick at him. I used to call him. They say, "Who's Mark Sobiski?" I said, "That's our professional beggar." I said,
That's right.
He's the beggar in chief. And I used to pick at him about that because I said, Mark could talk he could talk a dollar out of anybody. But what I couldn't have found out, the more and more I started to learn more about what he do as the foundation, and just talking with him, and just watching what he do and watching him work, I found out it ain't about begging. It's about partnerships. It's about collaboration. It's about wanting to see the community thrive. And so I done dropped that moniker. I used to pick at it. I said, he's like,
I can be the 10. I can be your 10 cup man. I don't mind.
Yeah, I used to tell him he begged so much his hand looked like cups. but it really is really what it is. It's really partnerships. It's really about collaboration. And I'm always at awe at what he is able to get done, and the connections he make. He knows everybody. I promise you, he knows everybody. And
I had to update my phone the other day and get a new one, and the guy looked and saw how many contacts I had in my phone. And he was like, "My Lord." I actually had a contact from the Navajo Nation, from one of the meetings we'd gone to in Savannah, and shared it with when we were doing the mobile dental unit of the Mobies. I shared it with a guy from Matthews Specialty Vehicles, so they could make sure that they could get it out there, because the Navajo were having such a big problem, and they sold a couple of them to them. So it's amazing what you can do, just but the 7 degrees of separation sort of thing.
Yes.
But we've been very fortunate. And Marek has been giving me a hard time for a long time, but I really know. I will say this: most of the folks that I approach in our communities, they want to help. They really do. They just want to make sure that whatever money they invest is going to go to a project that they have their heart in. And my job is to try to find out where their heart's at and make sure that what we're trying to ask them for matches what they want to invest in. And our communities are a tremendous investment for all of us because it keeps everybody going. And healthcare is a big issue.
And just on the personal side, you came to the Ladder site one day and you sat down, with the staff, and everybody knew the name Mark Sobiski, but nobody knew the person Mark Sobiski, because all they see is send this information to Mark to CareFirst, send this information to Mark. Okay, so everybody don't know Mark. But then I noticed on that day when you sat down and had this intimate conversation with them and explained the purpose of CareFirst, they was like this. They was like, everybody fell in love with Mark that day, right? Because the only thing they ever heard was the name, and they didn't understand foundation. They didn't understand the man behind the foundation. But when you sat and you had this intimate conversation with them, and you made them feel like you all are a part of this, you brought everybody in and you kind of embraced them, and it changed their whole persona of CareFirst and who Mark Sobiski really is. And it wasn't the name; they saw the care and the heart behind the name, and that really made a difference. So they don't take lightly no more when somebody mentioned CareFirst Foundation. They make sure that the proper information is getting out now, because all before it was just a name and just part of CareSouth, but you put a face behind it. You made it personal to them, and I appreciate that, really do.
Well, hey, I need to do more of that, evidently. So we'll see what we can do over the next year. But I will say this: my first experience when I came to CareSouth, I just came for an interview with Ann to try to get Ann Lewis, our CEO, to try to get a name on a resume. And we talked about it, and I fell in love with the mission of CareSouth just because the way Ann has built it. And I was like, well, hey, I can do that. We can try it. And we've been able to build a successful model. I can't believe it's been 18 years or 19 years actually. So it's been a labor of love for me, and I'm certainly glad to have the opportunity to be able to help our communities, and CareSouth as part of as another tool that CareSouth has in its tool belt to try to help our folks.
Oh yeah.
I know when I talk about when I'm out, and not particularly in this community, but when I go outside of our community, and into areas like Columbia and other state meetings, and even attending conferences in other states, I talk about CareFirst, and they say, well, what resources you have to help patients, this, that, and the other, your patients of your centers. Of course, we talk about community resources, but then I'm able to say, well, we have a supporting foundation called CareFirst, and then I go into CareFirst and you and our director Mark Sobiski, and the model you built and the things that you do. I mean, they're like, wow, really? Y'all do all that? And it's like, yeah, and it was important to have that foundation and that supporting foundation to be able to assist our patients when we don't have any, when there's not an avenue within the community to be able to help them. We have that supporting foundation, and again, like you said, what you've built has really, when we talk about it, folks are in awe at what you've built. Really, I mean, really, they're in awe at what you built, and I want to say thank you for having done that. Yes. And we want to give you your flowers while you're here, and make sure that that
I appreciate it. It could not have been done without the cachet that CareSouth brings with it. I'll tell you that. But right. But by the same token, it's been very fortunate that we've had some really good projects. The first conversation I had with Ann about the dental program was, she said, it's going to be expensive. And I said, how expensive could it be? I found out. It's very expensive. And and so that's been probably our biggest need for capital to keep building that program out, because it is such a money beast. But it's something that children got to have, and it's something that adults, when they don't have it, are in pain. So we've been able to build it up from one dentist and one truck to now we've got 2 trucks and 5 portable. I think it's 5 portable. I think it's 6 portable units that go in the schools, and a fixed site over in Bishopville. So I mean, we've been able to build a lot, but it's been a collaboration over years, and you see an opportunity and you take it. You don't realize how much you built till you look behind you.
Yeah. And like I said, it's about that partnership. I look back and I look at the mobile units we've have, and then the biggest collaboration and partnership is the McCall Wellness Center. Because of your relationships in the community,
Yes.
we were fortunate that to have that. I call it a beast, but to have
It
that
is a
center,
beast, yeah.
that state of the I mean, it's an awesome center. If anyone hadn't seen it and want a tour of it, man, I encourage you to go over to McCall and check it out. It's definitely I'll say one of a kind, but but those relationships you built through what you do made that possible and continue to do.
Yeah.
It amazed me that whole conversation started over lunch, at one of those little restaurants up there in McCall, and we were actually going over the Love Foundation up there actually had done. They do a dental support program for the folks up there in McCall and Tatum, Clio, and Blenheim, and I was giving a report to them, and we're sitting there having chicken. And Yardbird made a difference that day, I guess. But he was his vision was what we built, and that's really what it's all about. It's trying to help people connect to the vision that they want, and it helped us because we were able to get a new facility out of it. We've got now we've got rehab up there. We've got all the equipment that went in the rehab, as well as an X-ray unit and ultrasound now, and dental, pharmacy. I mean, it is just an all-encompassing site. And again, it's all part of what the CareSouth vision was. It actually set the bar for what the new sites are going to look like too.
Right.
So I'm excited. I was excited. So thank you so much for that. It is about communication. It is about connection. But it's also about the passion of what we do. And y'all know it. I mean, I see you guys work. I mean, y'all wouldn't do what you do if you didn't love it.
That's right.
That's right. That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And we love it. We love
Absolutely.
it. It's having everything that CareSouth offers makes what we do easy, because we got everything that we need right here in the house. And so when you got everything you need in the house, there is no stress. Sometimes it might get a little shaky sometimes because you don't quite know how to get to that resource. But when you understand the dynamics and start talking to people and meeting people, they'll always point you in the right direction. And so that's why I'm glad that I learned more about CareFirst, because I didn't understand the process. I knew that we had it there, but didn't know how to quite get there. But after talking to you and just listening to people talk about CareFirst, now we understand and how things need to be done. And so if you don't mind, can you give us an idea of, if we got providers that's watching this, if we got staff that's watching this,
okay,
that might have patients that's in need, what is the proper challenge and what is the proper process to acquire services from CareFirst Foundation?
For the general patient, there's 2 ways that we do it. We do one is the board will, if it's a big thing like a piece of equipment or a building or something like that, then that's something that goes to the board, and then they say whether or not we're going to do that particular project or not. Now, if it's somebody that needs something like a tooth extraction, maybe a wisdom tooth or something like that, or they may need to have a CT or an MRI or something like that done for diagnostic purposes. The key to the whole thing, we've tried to make it provider driven, so that the CareSouth providers, they'll identify a patient that actually is in need. They don't come to me directly. The patients don't come to me. They go to their provider, and the provider has to be the one to evaluate their need and evaluate if there's an end game. We don't want to do a test for the sake of a test. What we're trying to do is get diagnostics for a patient that will actually identify that patient as I call it not only continuity of care, this patient visit needs to do this, and then, but it's also a curative path of care. We want them to get better. We don't want to just keep making tests. If we start the process, we want there to be a curative path at the end of that process. Some of them are easy. If somebody's we've had situations where people may have had a broken arm or a broken leg, and we had to send them out to have it cast. That's pretty easy because you get it done, and we work with the specialists. We don't give money to the patients. We go straight to the specialty care folks, and it's all. Only thing I do is I guarantee the bill's going to get paid for that particular service, and it's not for everything that service might bring. I mean, but that particular visit, and then if they need to do more, we have to go back and reevaluate, because we don't have tremendous amounts of money. And also, what our with our employee campaign and stuff like that, we've got some funds that we can use every month. Right now, it's right around $7,000 a month or something like that, which isn't a lot when you figure you got 13 sites. But that kind of varies from month to month as to what we can pull out of it. But if you're looking at $250 there and $250 there and $500 here, it's not that bad. The money's there to be used for patient assistance, and we currently do a lot with again, provider driven, but it's our emergency medications. When they go in there and they come in, they might qualify for Well Vista or one of the other programs, but you got that first 30 days. How are you going to pay for that? And some of them are psychotropics and very expensive drugs that might cost $200 for a 30-day supply, unless you're under Well Vista or one of the pharmaceutical programs. So they have to wait 30 days. Well, you don't want them to wait 30 days or something like that. You need to get it done right away. Same thing with a lot of our one and done sort of things. Like if it's a very expensive antibiotic or something that they might need, we want to make sure that gets into them as quickly as possible, because you can get it fixed in a couple weeks. Otherwise, it'll keep them out of the emergency room. I mean, ultimately, what we're trying to do is make sure we keep folks in a healthcare home and don't have them go to an emergency room because they're crashing and burning physically. We don't want to have that happen.
So go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
No, so I was just saying absolutely. Go ahead.
Oh, so does anybody in the community qualify for this service, or does it have to be, is it specific to CareSouth patients, or who qualifies for help from CareFirst?
It would have to be a patient of CareFirst or CareSouth. I'm sorry, it has to be a patient of CareSouth, because for the continuity of care issue, if we want to do a CT on somebody, we have to have their report come back to us, so we know what the work's been done and how it's going to progress from there. But anybody can be a patient of CareSouth. I mean, that's one of the beauty of it. I mean, we don't have any restrictions on that, whether you have insurance or not, that sort of thing. And we don't do a means test. I mean, realistically, what we'll try to do is we'll say, listen, somebody may have had a job yesterday and they were doing pretty well, and then tomorrow they don't. And they still got all those bills staring at them. And that's usually when they get depressed and have a lot of health issues, because, kind of get overwhelmed by it. We can't, if I worried about that, then we would have some issues. Now, if they make a lot of money, if they have an income that would support their care, or insurance, we don't usually help with that. We're trying to help with those folks that are falling through the cracks.
Right.
Because we figure if we can target our resources to the ones that we can help. We had one that was a brittle diabetic years ago, and we ended up having to do dental work because her teeth had broken off below the gums, so she had to have almost all of her teeth taken out. So, as a matter of fact, I think she had all of her teeth taken out. But at the end of the day, we were able to help her through the. We sent her to an oral surgeon to have that done. We actually partnered with Pat Weaver up at our Bennett School site, and she saw her to make sure she had all of her diabetic care done. Her regular provider was at another site, and everybody was a team to try to get this work done. And when we were finally finished with her, we were able to find a source in the community that helped her with dentures. So she would actually be able to eat good food after that, because diabetics, if you don't have teeth, you're going to eat soft stuff like rice, which is not good for a diabetic, or possibly potatoes, that sort of thing, and mashed potatoes, which is again starch, not good for a diabetic. So by having some dentures at that particular point, she was able to eat regular food and stay healthy, have the opportunity to stay healthy, if nothing else. And that's something we don't normally do, but I mean, I can find partnerships, as Marek says, I can usually find somebody that that might want to help. It may take a little while, but it works out.
Right.
So,
yeah, and when I talk about CareSouth to people, I tell them that CareSouth, we're an organization that takes a team approach to our patient care, and that team isn't just the provider or the nurse. That team extends all the way from the nurse to the provider to our MAT department. Value-based care may have a role in that patient care, all the way to the community health workers, all the way to the dental department, even our foundation, even our maintenance guys are part of that team, because we sometimes call on them when we find a social issue with a patient that may need, we need to reach out into the community to get a bed. That bed has to be moved and taken to the patient's home. Guess who we often call to step in and do that, and they gladly do it because they're part of the team. It's that team-based care at CareSouth. That CareSouth is they provide community when you come and you're a patient at CareSouth. So, and just
I
like
agree
that,
with that. Yeah,
yeah,
I couldn't do half this. I couldn't do any of the stuff I do without the support of maintenance and the drivers and the trucks and that sort of thing. Like with the food distribution we did last year, and are currently doing. If they've got a box truck available, and they're welcome to go drop food off where I need it. And so we can only do it like 1 or 2 days a week now. But back when everything was shut down, we pretty much had carte blanche where we needed to go. And all the food drops that we did through CareSouth, I can supply the food in a lot of cases, and then CareSouth had medical expertise and many other added value pieces. I know they did stuff up in McCall and pretty much all the sites at one time or another through last year with large drive-throughs.
wow, wow, great work, Mark. Great work. Great work.
Okay, thanks. But no, y'all, I'm excited to know that everybody's wanting to know more about it. Again, the way it works is we have the providers gives me a letter that says patient ABC needs to have this work done, and this is how it's going to help this patient, and we expect what the next step in the care is going to be, and this is what it is. That way, and it goes. We take that letter and we do a financial review We ask them for their financial information. We do they sign a release of personal information, and we do a financial review, and we do basically a questionnaire. It's an application process, and we get our patient demographic sheet, and that's pretty much about everything that we're going to need at that particular point. And then we send it up to our usually either Dr. Duncan, Dr. Smith, or one of our docs does a clinical evaluation. And if it's their own patient, we have to get another doc to do the evaluation. But what we do is we let them do a clinical to make sure that makes sense. And then we do an administrative review that's usually Peggy or somebody like that looks at it and says, is this something we can do in-house? If somebody was in Bishopville and needed an ultrasound, we could do that in Hartsville, or we could do that someplace else within CareSouth and still not have to spend the money. So we review it for that. It's kind of like taking a patient and looking at more like as laser focused on what the patient need is versus, a wide scan. And then we do clinical, we do financial, we do administrative, and then the board looks at it and says, is it something we can afford to do? And then they say, we got the money. Okay, we'll release it. So, and we try to make it as user friendly as possible. We're not going to, some of these applications I've seen for assistance are 14, 15 pages long, and that's ridiculous. Ours is pretty much 2 pages and a couple things for them to sign, and that's it. So we're trying to make it as streamlined as possible without getting too bureaucratic. And we can't really set parameters on it, because I want every one of them to be an independent review. It's as they come in. If you come up and say, if you do A, B, and C, you're going to get D, then all of a sudden everybody wants to do that, but nobody's really looking at the patient.
Yeah.
They just want that one. They're just going to look for that one thing to do. And sometimes it's more of a holistic approach if you do it this way, because you're asking, what is the curative path here? Are you asking this for the sake of a test, or are you really going to have a curative path of care, and this patient's going to get better? And we've had, like I said, we've had tremendous numbers of them. Back when Marlboro Hospital was open, we had a patient that had a hot gallbladder. I don't normally do gallbladders, but I went over and talked to the guy at the CFO at the hospital at the time. I said, listen, we need to work this out. And I was able to work out a stipend that I could pay them that would help with the surgical costs, because the surgeons don't get paid and the anesthesiologist doesn't get paid for charity care work at the hospital. So I said, well, I'll give you both a stipend to do that. And they're like, well, okay, if they can pay their insurance, because they want to help, but they can't help everybody for free. So if we can cover their intrinsic costs, their insurance, their nurse's salary, or whatever, they've got to keep that file for 7 to 10 years. So, I mean, all that's a cost. So if we can give them some money towards that, the hospital can pull out from, usually from their indigent funding. I think they have different names for it, but they've got a way they can cover the surgery suite. So we were able to do that and probably save the system hundreds of thousands of dollars, because if that woman's gallbladder had popped, she would have had to be in the hospital for at least 2 weeks if she survived. And they'd have to debride her and do all kinds of stuff, and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Mm-hmm. So, again, it's one of those things. If we said we don't do that, then there's always an exception to everything. And if you look at them on a case by case basis, the exceptions make sense. I mean, we do our best to try to err on the side of the patient if we can.
Well, Mark, like I said, we really appreciate this service, and we urge the people that's watching to not take advantage, to be as honest as you can when it comes to your availability to pay. That's why it's important that you give our front office correct information. When they're asking you about your information about your income and everything else, be as honest as you can about that, because there are people who truly need this service. And if you don't need it and you're taking advantage because of some falsehoods, then you're preventing somebody else from getting care that could be life-threatening care. So it's important that we give accurate information to our front offices, and that our front offices continue to check and to follow through on that information to make sure that everything is good. So all of our patients are getting the care that they need, and not being left out because somebody just really took advantage of the system. It's a valuable resource.
And thanks for bringing that up. And our application process, whereas CareSouth will accept a self-attestation, CareFirst will not. We have to have something that shows an income.
Okay, good, wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Mark, this was a wonderful discussion. We were able to get a glimpse into CareFirst Foundation. You know, again, what it's all about, how you and the organization can support CareSouth Carolina and the patients of CareSouth Carolina and the staff of CareSouth Carolina for that reason. And one day I'm going to play in that golf tournament. I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, it's coming up. It's coming up in October, so hey, we'll hook you up. And the other thing I would like to, I would be remiss in my duties if I didn't mention this, but there is a link on the CareSouth website. If somebody wants to make a donation to CareFirst, they are welcome to do that. They can use their MasterCard, Visa, whatever, PayPal. And we've been able to leverage about $12 for every dollar that we get donated in services. Wow. So if I get $10, I can get $120 worth of services out of it usually. Wow. And that's because we have providers and folks within the community that want to help. They really do. And they will make sure that they can assist us by giving us discounted services or at minimal cost services. They won't give a discount. They'll give us the best price possible. So that in itself helps a tremendous amount.
Wow. Talk about return on investment, right?
Exactly. I mean, and it doesn't have to be a lot. It really doesn't. People think they have to have millions of dollars, but you don't. The $5 and the $10 and the $20 are the ones that add up, and those are the ones that help us do what we do.
Yeah. So Mark, you gave us the link that's on the CareSouth Carolina website, which is www.caresouth-carolina.com. But if someone else out there wants to get in touch with you directly to make a donation, and talk about some services that they may be able to assist us with, or like again make a donation to the foundation, how can they get in contact with you?
They can usually call the corporate office up there at 857-0111 and then ask for the foundation, and they can leave a message, or else Jennifer, my administrative assistant, can also talk with them as well and get their information. From I'm on I've got a email address. It's I wouldn't give it to you, but it's too long. But it's basically Mark.Sobiski at CareSouth-Carolina.com. But you can send me an email as well. So we'll try to make it work.
Absolutely.
But usually going through corporate office is the most logical way.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate that. Thank you again for coming on. If you could stick around when we end. But sure. Thank you for coming on and sharing that information with us. And again, if you want to get in contact with Mark Sobiski, you can reach out through him through our CareSouth Carolina website at www.caresouth-carolina.com. Again,
we also have a Facebook page.
Oh, tell them about it. Yes, sir. You have a Facebook page, right?
We have a Facebook page. I think there's a link on there as well, but we have a Facebook page that's CareFirst Carolina. And you can also get in touch with me by sending an email or a personal message on that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for coming on with us today. We definitely enjoy the information that you were able to provide and shed some light on about the foundation and absolutely all the great work that you're doing in the community and for CareSouth Carolina and its patients. Thank you again, Mark.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Oh no, the pleasure was all ours. Trust me. And again, and this is an invitation we always extend to those folks that are like family now. You know, anytime you have something going on and you want to come on and you want to talk about it or you want to join us, let us know. We'd love to have you back. And I'm almost forgot. We do ask one important question of our guests before we let them go. And it's probably one of the most important questions that we would ask on this podcast.
Thanks.
When Mark Sobiski, the CareFirst Foundation director, is not doing Care First, which is not that often, because you live and breathe. We all live and breathe it. What we do because we love it. What do you do for fun? And I'm gonna love this answer. I already know what he do.
Yeah, everybody knows what I do. I'm on a horse usually somewhere. We've had horses since '76, and my wife is a big horse person, and so every weekend we're actually out riding somewhere. We're about to have withdrawal symptoms right now. I'm gonna have to come on a mat service because these last 2 weeks just been too hot to do anything.
Yes.
But we are that is usually what we do. We just take the horses up to H. Cooper Black on Lay State Park and some of the other local parks around here, and we just ride through the woods. And truthfully, with all this COVID stuff that's going on, we always feel pretty safe because just the two of us and two horses out in the middle of the woods. So not a whole lot of spreadable events there.
Yeah. I would say one of the safest activities out there, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly true.
How many horses do you have, Mark?
Too many. Yeah, I got 4. Yeah.
Oh, you might get me on one day.
Oh, hey, we'll give it a try. What the heck?
Mark,
I had one guy come out. He said he said he could ride, and he was pretty good. He was a student up at Clemson. He was in their what is it? They do hotel management, and he said, I've been riding horses. So we took him out. This has been years ago, and I was on one. I would put him on my wife's mare, and man, she took off with him, and she was going like crazy. She was a little Arab, and her tail was sticking over her back, and she was running, and he was screaming. I was like, oh Lord. Now he stayed on. I'll give him that. He stayed on, and she ran all the way to the gate and stopped. And that's when he fell off. And I was like, Lord knows, man was shaking like a leaf. I was like, oh man.
Well, see, that's why
I wasn't expecting that.
Marek, that's why I don't mess with those kind of horses. I got the steel horses, the ones that I'm in control of.
That's right.
Yeah, I got a friend of mine. He says he won't ride nothing without a kill switch.
That's it. That's it. No, sir.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, that's a good deal. That's a good deal. I'm a big boy, so you might need a Clydesdale.
There you go. There you go.
Well, I appreciate that, Mark. And again, thank you for coming on. And you have a great weekend.
I'll do my best. Thank y'all very much.
Yeah, and stick around for us before you leave.
I shall. Thank you so much, and appreciate everybody learning more about CareFirst. It's exciting for me to know we can actually get some more words out there.
Absolutely.